Hello everyone. Welcome to today's training. It's so good to have you here for the training on how to give your child quality education without financial burnout. Make sure to stay to the end to get all the inside scoop, and also don't forget to participate with your comments. All right, I'll be responding to it in real time, so drop all your comments. I'm going to be responding while this class is ongoing. All right, okay, that said, so as parents, one of our biggest dreams is to provide quality education for our kids, right? However, the rising cost of education can pose a huge hindrance to seeing this dream come true, especially for single moms who shoulder the responsibility of two parents all by themselves. But not to worry, that is why we are here, alright? There's always a way out of every situation, which we'll be learning about in this training. So, before we begin to talk about solutions, it's important for us to understand the nitty-gritties of this problem as clearly as possible, because this is crucial to knowing how and where to cut or eliminate cost, right? So, as said earlier, there has been a significant increase in the cost of education, both locally and globally, for various reasons. These reasons include inflation, administrative expenses, need for infrastructural development, the regular schools, traditional schools that we take our children to, they need to update their infrastructures from time to time, and then the economy is not smiling at anyone. So now the question is, with all of this going on, what impact does this high cost of quality education have on parents, especially single moms? The profound impact of high cost of education on parents include, but are not limited to, compromise on educational standards by opting for cheap schools. So a lot of parents, because they are not able to afford the quality education that they want for their kids, they are forced to compromise on the educational standards by going for cheaper schools that with less qualified teachers and things like that. Okay, so another impact that this has on parents is that a lot of parents also opt for educational finance loan. They take loans, and especially these days with a lot of these online platforms where you can get easy access to loans. A lot of people have been trapped, and for most of them, the reason they are taking this loan is to be able to pay their children's school fees, to be able to pay for quality education for their kids. And we for most of us, we know what it's like. You take loans from these people, and it will take the grace of God. In fact, you can barely sleep well, for a lot of people, because the financial stress is so much. The pressure to repay these loans can impact your mental and emotional well-being terribly, and even your health can be affected as well. Now, another impact this has is that this financial burden may force some parents to work long hours, extend hours of work to be able to make, extra income. They need to make extra income to be able to pay for their children's school fees, to be able to afford the quality of school, the quality of education that they want for their children. So they take up more jobs, and by the time they take up these more jobs, they barely have time to rest. They barely have time for their family. They barely have personal time for themselves. They can't even rest. They don't even have time for regular medical checkup and stuff like that. They don't even have time for relaxation, to even cool off and catch their breath. They don't have such time. So this isn't easy at all. At all. So it's not what anybody should be going through. But yeah, that's a situation a lot of people find themselves. So now, it brings us to the question, how do you then reduce or eliminate education cost without compromising on quality education? There aren't many options, really, to be very honest. There aren't many options when it comes to reducing educational costs for primary schools. There are options for university and even secondary school to a very large extent, but for primary schools, the options are limited. Okay, and I'll be mentioning the two options that seem to be realistic options. All right, with the second one being the most effective and efficient way to cut educational costs with no negative ripple effects. All right, so pay attention. The first option is scholarships. So for scholarships, especially in a place like Nigeria, primary school scholarships are not very common. They are not very common. So one is hardly available. Maybe it may come up once a year, once in 3 years. It's not something that you really get to hear about. And then when they even come up, the slots are really so limited. So where do you even start from? Okay, it's not like people don't benefit from them in the long run. A few people get to benefit, but what happens to the rest? So the second option, which I said earlier is the most effective and most efficient way, is, okay, I won't let the cat out of the bag. So let me put it this way. What if I told you about an educational system What if I told you about a school where your kid gets real-life practical lessons with individualized instructions, followed by a flexible time frame to work on a class project? Would you like that? Now, they get consistent feedback from their teacher on their progress, and their grades are extremely excellent. Who wouldn't want that for their child? Tell me. If you don't want it, right? Type in the comment section, I don't want. I'm sure nobody will type. Okay, so, and what if that school was right in your home? You heard me. What if it was right in your home? Yes, it can be. It is called homeschooling. So the second and most realistic way to give your child quality education without breaking the bank and without compromising on quality of education is what we call homeschooling. All right, so homeschooling is something that was very common in the past, before traditional schools, in school institutions began to come up. Homeschooling was actually the main way a lot of people gave their children an education. So maybe you're considering homeschooling as an option for your kids right now, but you are not sure where to start, or maybe you are just curious about how it works. You don't even know, or for some people, you don't even know about homeschooling. This is your first time of hearing about homeschooling, and you're wondering, could this be true? Could this be real? Is it not going to have side effects? So we are going to talk about this subject matter detailedly. So whatever your current situation is, we are going to break this down properly for you to know how best this would work for you, or if this would work for you. I actually believe that it will work for anybody who puts their heart to it. The only way it will not work for you is if you believe in your heart that it will not work for you. But the truth of the matter is that it can work. It depends on how you structure yourself and the learning process. All right, so now, what is homeschooling? You've likely heard a lot about homeschooling lately. For some people, I know that there are still a lot of people who haven't heard about it. All right, so while it's always been a thing, the COVID-19 pandemic gave homeschooling a major popularity boost. To put things into perspective, before COVID, around 2.5 million children from kindergarten to grade 12 were being homeschooled. Now, in the COVID-19 period, this number doubled. It doubled. Now, modern homeschooling began in 1970 and 1980s, championed by progressive educational reformers hoping to free children's inner creativity, and conservative evangelical leaders concerned about the environment of public schools, which is actually another growing concern these days, especially for Christian parents who want to raise whole, spiritually and morally sound children. Okay, so in the 20th century, homeschooling has become increasingly diverse, both in terms of race, class, and parental motivations. Essentially, homeschooling is a parent-directed education. So this is what homeschooling is, right? This is now the definition of homeschooling. Homeschooling is essentially a parent-directed education which happens from the comfort of your own home. It is parent-directed, meaning that you have direct control over what your children are learning, what your child is learning, the educational environment, the people they are exposed to. You have direct control over it. So families might choose to homeschool their kids for lots of reasons, but a few reasons that come at the top of the radar are flexibility, quality, spiritual, and moral reasons. These are at the top of the list. So by teaching from home, parents have the freedom to choose their own curriculum, customize their school schedule to fit their family's needs, and even take learning on the road. That's why homeschooling is so popular with young artists and actors. I actually know of a couple of artists, some celebrities that actually homeschool their kids. And some of even these celebrity children that you see, a lot of them don't go to regular schools. A lot of them are homeschooled. That is why when they come out and they perform and they speak, and you're like, where did this child come from? A lot of them are being homeschooled. I know firsthand. I won't mention names, but I know a couple of them who are being homeschooled. They don't go to the traditional schools that other children go to. Alright, so some families use homeschool tutors, or they belong to support groups. So for parents who are not able to do the teaching themselves, some of them opt to employ teachers who resume in the house, of course based on their own schedule, to teach the children. Some belong to support groups. They have support groups that help them in this homeschooling journey. But ultimately, the student's education is the parent's responsibility. That might feel intimidating, right? Yes. For some of us, we may feel that, oh my God, how can this ever work with me? Like I said earlier, anybody can do it. All you need is just to believe in yourself. Research has proven that even some illiterate parents were able to successfully homeschool their children. Don't ask me how, but yes, it's part of the research reports, that we have. Okay, so that is one of the reasons this training is coming to you. Because you want to know, how can these things be? Like Mary asked the angel that came to proclaim the good news, how can these things be? Seeing I know not a man. So yes, you're asking, how can these things be? We are going to tell you how they can be. So before we delve into all of that, let's look at the benefits of homeschooling over public schools. Ignorance of the benefits of homeschooling have made a lot of parents believe that homeschooling may deprive their child of receiving an internationally accredited education, or that their child may be found wanting in areas of socialization and all of that. But the truth of the matter is that this has been proven to be so untrue. It's been proven to be wrong. Statistics have shown that homeschooled children tend to perform far better than their publicly schooled counterparts academically. They perform far better. They perform far better morally. They perform far better emotionally. And their overall approach to life is seen to be far better than that of their counterparts who attend traditional schools. Okay, so I'm going to be listing out the benefits of homeschooling one after the other. Number one, top on the list, is one-on-one teaching. This is the most significant benefit of homeschooling, as it gives your child the opportunity to get complete, undivided attention throughout their educational journey. Alright, so in this kind of education, your child learns with an individual approach. Your child is taught one-on-one. Is not a crowd where in a typical class where they just use an average method that may work for some people and may not work for others. In this case, it is specifically designed for your child. It is a one-on-one teaching system. Number two benefit is that homeschooling provides flexibility. Since homeschool parents take up the role of teacher, principal, and superintendent at the same time, they have the freedom to create their own school experience for their kids. They can choose the curriculum and customize their school schedule to best meet the needs of their family. My family includes the child and the parents alike. So if they want to take a long trip in the middle of the school year, you don't have to wait till school closes. Some of you want to travel, you want to go on vacation, you want to explore a lot of things. Some of you even want to go on business trips, and you are constrained because you don't want your child to miss school. So with homeschooling, you don't have such constraints because you can actually travel at any time with your kids. Alright, so they can take their schoolwork with them. You can learn from anywhere at all that you are. For some of you, you can't even take up certain job offers because while you may be able to, you have the option of being with your family, and or your child's school is not maybe close to where the work location is and all of that, and then you're now confined to a particular place and you're like, oh, I can't take this job, I can't do this because I can't afford to move with my children, I don't want to, I don't want them to miss schools and all. So with homeschooling, this is not going to be an issue at all. Benefit number 3 is that your homeschooling pace is customizable. So you don't have to work with the regular school calendar. You can actually customize it to your own pace. You can customize it at your own pace. Your children can learn at the pace you feel is most convenient for them. You don't have to wake children up as early as 5 a.m. or even 4 a.m. as some parents do. You don't have to put your children through such stress. Even you don't have to go through that much stress, preparing children for school. For some people, for those of us living in Lagos, with the way Lagos traffic can be crazy and all, you have to, depending on where you are going to, how far the school is from your house, you have to wake up very early, begin to get on the road. You're thinking of how to leave the house and all of that. So all those stress can be eliminated. Alright? All of that can be eliminated. Benefit number 4, homeschooling allows for learning outside the classroom. It doesn't just happen in the home. You can take field trips, you can explore the world, get to learn about nature and all of those things. It makes the whole process really exciting. It's all part of the learning process. The truth of the matter is that for most of us, we were confined to a classroom where most of the time we were only taught theoretically. Everything is about copy one note, copy the other note, go and sit down, read, study, come, write, pass exam. But that's not actually the main essence of education, really. The main education is to teach the mind how to think. So you see, this is a richer and better form of education. Benefit number 5, homeschooling is child-centered. It lets you personalize your child and select materials based on your child's area of interest. So it helps you personalize your child's education and select materials based on your child's area of interest. So you know your child. You understand your child. You most likely understand your child better than any teacher. And you know what your child is best at. Okay? So homeschooling affords you the opportunity to be able to nurture your child's strengths adequately by choosing the materials based on their areas of interest and areas of strength. Okay? So benefit number 6 is that homeschooling eliminates unnecessary competition among peers. Unnecessary competition. For some children, they go to school. You discover that a child that used to eat well at home goes to school and has a seatmate who doesn't eat or picks out vegetables from their food. Your child comes back and begins to exhibit that in the house, and you're wondering, when did this one start? It's from school. So negative peer influence. These are just mild effects of peer pressure. Alright? Mild effect is what I'm even giving as an example, but these things happen. So in a traditional school, children can develop peer groups in the course of learning to socialize. However, this can also birth unnecessary harmful competition. The urge to want to feel among, the desire to want to feel among, the race for grades can develop a negative attitude towards learning. Children are more concerned about coming first in class, which is not bad, but it can become negative competition. And you even find some schools trying to make up for the child's excesses. The child did not perform well in the exam. Some schools sadly even go as far as giving their students expo just to impress the parents, so that you think that your child is doing well, whereas your child is not performing well. So how do you get to see all of this? How do you get to monitor all of this? It is when your child is being schooled right under your watch. That is when you actually know the actual capacity of your child. So for some people, when you begin to homeschool your child, you see a lot of shocking revelations. You come across a lot of shocking revelations about your child. Okay? So the next benefit, which is benefit number 7, is it saves time and money. It saves time, it saves money. Some of you may wonder, how can she say it saves time when I'll have to be the one teaching my children and all of that? Let me explain to you. Homeschooling actually enables us to make more efficient investment of time. Parents and children are able to save time from mundane routines like assembly. Why do you wake up early, rushing to take your child to school? You don't want your child to miss assembly. Your child has to attend assembly. But how does that assembly really affect the quality of your child's life? Have you actually done a quality assessment on all of those things? You wake up, you spend time on traffic. Lagos traffic that can be terrible. You wake up, and for some people, you spend like the next 1 hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes. That 1 hour, 30 minutes that you spent on the road could be used for something more useful. In fact, in that 1 hour, 30 minutes, you would have finished teaching your child. Yes, because truth of the matter is, what happens in schools, in traditional school systems, is because it is not a one-on-one learning situation. They have to give room to everybody. So a good teacher would want to say, okay, after teaching, this child, they give room for discussions, for interactions. So by the time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people are talking, it has taken time. Whereas if it is one child that you are teaching, discover that you finish in a very little time. It's a matter of few minutes and you're done. So you spend that whole long time in traffic. So convert it. This allows for a better investment of time in actual learning and teaching, making the daily routine far more optimized. When I say making the daily routine far more optimized, is that you discover that you achieve much more from your daily routine. This will also give your child more time to develop other skills and interests that can benefit them in the long run and help them become well-balanced adults. So if you're not going to be spending all of the time in school or while your kids are homeschooling, you can begin to chip in a few other extracurricular activities that will benefit your child, will help your child grow up into a more successful and well-developed adult. Okay, so another thing, apart from saving on commute time, by commute time I mean time spent on the road, homeschooling gives you the opportunity to save on transport fare. You don't get to pay transport fare, you're in your house. A couple of other things you save on, and another example is school uniform. Your child is in the house, for goodness sake, and I'm sure they have clothes, so you don't have to buy school uniform. I know a lot of schools where only the school uniform alone can pay some people's house rents, but you have to buy it because your child has to go to that school. And when you now buy it like that, it's like you have made one very huge investment. That child now has to manage that school uniform for the next 2-3 years. You don't need all of that stress. You don't. So, benefit number 8 is parent-child bonding. Since the parents are the child's primary teachers in a home school, the parent and child get to spend more quality family time together, which in turn leads to a stronger parent-child bond. You're teaching your child is with you in the house, you will definitely bond better. Okay, and in fact, it would take I don't know, to break such bond. Nothing can break such bond. I don't know what it is that can break, such strong bond. Because bond is built by spending time together. The more you spend time together, doing stuff together, the more you bond. Okay. Another benefit is safety. Homeschooling creates a safe learning environment. So parents who are not sure about their children's safety in schools can consider homeschooling as a good alternative. Students generally feel safe and comfortable in their homes. It keeps them from situations like bullying and opposing companies that may adversely affect or influence them. It is safe. it is physically safe, it is emotionally safe, it is morally safe for your children. Okay, so benefit number 10 is less pressure on parents. So surprisingly, homeschooling can lessen some pressure on parents. While it may seem like it's more work and all of that, the truth of the matter is that it actually lessens pressure on parents. Even though homeschooling requires parents to be at home with the child and pay attention to their education, homeschooling eases the pressure put on parents to assist with deadline-driven projects. Your child has this project. I see a lot of people and you're like, oh my God, I'm supposed to rest. I'm having this terrible headache, but I need to help my child, with this homework now. I need to help my child go print something, or I need to go get so stuff for my child's project because he has to submit it on XYZ date. That is the deadline, and all. You get to set your deadlines yourself, so you're not under undue pressure. So, this said, the truth of the matter is that even working parents can also get help with homeschooling their children from online resources. There are online resources on homeschooling, and there are even support groups that can help you. So we'll give you more information on this at the end of this training. Now, in summary, I'll refer to a quote. In summary of the benefits of homeschooling, right? I'll refer to a quote from Albert Einstein, who said, "Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of minds to think." It is not the learning of facts, but the training of minds to think. If this is true for you, then the goal of quality education can be achieved through homeschooling, where children are encouraged to think critically and truly understand the concepts and theories in their courses. Like I said earlier, they finish the concepts and theories in their courses. Like I said earlier, they finished us with theory. I don't know about you, but most of us could barely have a practical side to what we were being taught in school, even to higher institution. A lot of us didn't have practical experience. We just go to school, a teacher comes, talks, brings one textbook, tells you do this XYZ, and you go it's ended, it's over. You are expected to be able to compete with your Western counterparts. How is it going to happen? So yeah, these are the benefits of homeschooling. If you're enjoying this training, if you're getting value so far, type in the comment section, "I am getting value." Thank you. Alright. So, that said, let's move on to address some of the concerns parents might have about homeschooling. One of the major concerns that parents have about homeschooling is they wonder if homeschooling is legal. Yes, homeschooling is very, very legal. It's not only legal in Nigeria, it's also illegal in many countries like the US and UK. So, if you're homeschooling your child, and maybe you have a dream to relocate to the US or the UK, you have no problem. It's going to be easy for you to integrate into the system because it's also legal over there. Alright, so all you need to do is find out the legal requirements from homeschooling in those places and begin to, impute them into your learning, your educational system, your homeschooling educational system for your kids, and you're good to go. All right. Now in Nigeria, we don't have any regulation around homeschooling, so it's a lot easy. It's a lot easier for us. And you begin to wonder, if it is legal in Nigeria, how do we then say that children have graduated from primary school? How do we now ascertain that they've graduated from secondary school and all of that? Now, one thing you need to understand is that in Nigeria, you can actually apply as an external candidate. You can actually take your kids to apply on your own as a parent. You have the right to apply for your children to write common entrance. And the truth of the matter is that I don't know people that have used their first school leaving certificate. Me, I did not use my own. But I'm not saying you shouldn't get that for your child. Don't get me wrong. Don't hear what I'm not saying. Alright? Okay. So that said, these things can be done. And even for GCE, WAEC, and all of that, you can also apply as an external candidate. You can register your child for those exams as an external candidate, and they go write the exams and come out in flying colors as they will, because these children are hybrid raised children, okay, well educated children, so they will definitely perform well. Okay, so many parents, due to ignorance, are worried that this method of schooling may deprive their children of receiving an internationally accredited education, or that their children may lack in areas of socialization. As I said earlier, statistics have proven this to be very untrue. So there are definitely requirements for people who want their children to maybe have higher education in foreign schools and all of that. There are requirements. However, you need to know that homeschooling your child is not a problem even if you want your children to attend such schools. Such schools have provision for homeschooled children. As a matter of fact, in today's world, homeschooling is considered an alternative, even though it was once the primary means of education in all households. Yes, it was the primary means of education. Now, I'm going to mention some names of people who were homeschooled and they did well. So, world famous personalities like Abraham Lincoln, Virginia Woolf, Rabindranath Tagore, Mozart, and the children of Susanna Wesley, which I mentioned earlier in the previous training, were homeschooled. All these people were homeschooled and they grew up to do exploits in the society. So never think that your child will lose out on anything if they are homeschooled. So I think with this, we've been able to address the points of worry that a few people may have about the subject of homeschooling. So now let's move on to how to choose the best educational plan for your profile. Now, choosing the best educational plan for your profile first requires that you explore the different options at your disposal. A good approach will be to take an inventory of your educational goals to help you make an informed decision on your approach. So I'm going to list out some of the factors to consider. Factor number 1 is personal values. So for you to know the best approach, educational approach you're going to use to homeschool your child, what are your personal values? Factor number 2. What is your educational philosophy?
Okay, let me speak a little more on personal values. So for personal values, you should ask yourself, do you want your homeschool style to help you instill a specific value system to your child? Or do you prefer to leave value systems out of your specific homeschool approach? What do you exactly want in terms of personal values? What do you want to achieve? Now, number 2, educational philosophy. Do you ascribe to a specific educational philosophy that would affect how you approach your child's education? Is there a particular educational philosophy that will affect how you approach your child's education? Or are you neutral when it comes to educational philosophies? Are you neutral about it? Are you passive about it? Factor number 3 is homeschool duration. For how long do you want to homeschool your child? Is it a short-term thing? Is it a long-term thing? How do you want to get it done? Okay? Factor number 4, what are your educational goals? As a family, do you have educational goals? Or as a parent, do you have educational goals for your children? Is there a specific educational goal your child needs to achieve that you have in view? Or are you just going to take things as they come? So what are your educational goals? Factor number 5 you need to consider is family circumstances. What is the current state of your family? Is it favorable for you to continue with traditional homeschooling? Are there personal circumstances that can affect your choice of education for your child? Or are there medical challenges that need additional attention? So these are things you need to consider. Factor number 6. Flexibility. As a 6th factor you need to consider. What kind of, do you want a rigid homeschooling method, or are you open to changes? Are you open to some level of flexibility? So when you put all of this together, I think another thing you need to consider is your job. How well can you manage this along with your job? Because of course, definitely, you need to get money, and you need to be doing something to be able to get money. So how do you intend to manage that? So those are things you need to consider that will guide you to choose the right plan for your profile. Alright? So let's look at the different types of homeschooling. So with that, you will be able to know what suits your profile best. So after you must have taken time to write out the factors that will influence your choice of a plan, you can then choose from these different types of homeschooling which one best works for you. Okay? So there are 10 types of homeschooling methods. Number 1 is the traditional homeschooling. In traditional homeschooling, this style is what many people who are new to homeschooling opt for. In this method, homeschooling parents simply align their approach with that of the traditional school system. Number 2 is road schooling. This is for families who prefer to take their family and their children education on the road. Number 3 is world schooling. In this scenario, families make homeschooling a global adventure where children are exposed to cultural diversity as part of their learning experience. Number 4 is unschooling. This is a homeschooling method where the child is given the opportunity or responsibility to make educational decisions for themselves. So it's not like the child is not going to be learning, but they will be the ones to, choose what they are learning and all of that. So number 5 is eclectic homeschooling. This is a blend of different homeschooling methods. Number 6 is a classical homeschooling. Classical homeschooling is a method that focuses on critical thinking, communication skills, and a lifelong learning. In this method of schooling, a strong foundation in subjects like language, art, history, and logic are crucial for developing critical thinking and communication skills. Number 7, Montessori homeschooling. Montessori homeschooling methods places emphasis on practical learning over memorization. It is an activity-oriented learning system. Number 8, unit studies. Centering your homeschool studies around a specific topic or theme is called the unit study approach. This can involve integrating various academic subjects such as history, science, and English language arts into a dedicated study of a theme, such as weather. So, like for example now, unit study, you pick up you want to study on weather. Okay, so you look at the historical approach to weather, the scientific approach to weather, the art approach to weather, and all of that. So that is how unit studies, is practiced.
The next one is the Charlotte Mason homeschooling. So based on the findings of a British educator from the 19th century who believed that education should encompass a child's atmosphere, discipline, and life as a whole. So this is what the Charlotte Mason homeschooling method is about. It is based on the findings of this British educator who is named Charlotte Mason. Okay, so number 10 is the Waldorf homeschooling. This is an educational technique by Rudolf Steiner. His central focus was on instilling in children an understanding and appreciation of their place in the global and natural world. Okay, so that said, the next part of this training is how to create time for your kids' educational success. So we are going to see that in the next session. So we're going to take a little break and we'll come back. Okay, so if you have enjoyed the lesson so far, don't forget to like, drop your comments, and subscribe to this channel. We are bringing this information to you free of charge, and a couple of other resources free of charge. The best you can do for us is to support us with your likes, your comments, and your subscription. This will help improve our rating on the social media space. So thank you. Let's go for a short break. We'll see you in the next class. All right, bye.